Call the member for Fairfax.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And I confess at times to being concerned about an erosion of what we sometimes refer to as civil society. We do see a breakdown in the family unit. We see a drop in spirituality among most Australians, actually, at the moment. We see traditional community groups lacking the volunteers to continue. Volunteering in Australia is wonderful, but demand is exceeding supply. And it's easy to get down, believing that our civil society is eroding and people are going to fall through the cracks and what's going to happen. But there are also times, Deputy Speaker, that I think each of us who is honoured to represent local communities gets that inspiration from our own community, and I know I do, on the Sunshine Coast. And let me use three examples today. One based on a town where people geographically are getting together. Another one based on where people are unleashing their talents, particularly through sport. And then thirdly, social inclusion, where people are coming together. Deputy Speaker, when it comes to community working as one in a town, I use the example of a project called Reimagine Nambour. Reimagine Nambour is an activity now owned by the community of Nambour on the Sunshine Coast, where they are working as a united force to paint a vision for their future and then to formulate a roadmap to get to that vision. And they're doing so with community, political sector, business sector, and residents working as one, because they believe that their town can be transitioned economically while maintaining a very proud and strong, distinct identity. And Nambour will pull that off because it is working as a united force, and that is Reimagine Nambour. Secondly, Deputy Speaker, I want to use the example of people who unleash their talents, particularly sport. I recently attended the 25th Annual Sunshine Coast Sports Awards, and there is no doubt the depth of sporting talent on the Sunshine Coast is second to none. And it starts at the grassroots. That's where it's at. And I want to pay tribute to local legend, in fact an Olympian, Benny Pike, who has recently stood down as chairman of the Sunshine Coast Sports Federation. Benny has put his heart and soul into helping people in sport, and he should take a bow because he's done everyone proud. He wears it on his sleeve, and a big congratulations to Benny. Sport, while I'm talking about it, Deputy Speaker, let me also mention the emergence of women in sport. Now, I'm home to the Lightning on the Sunshine Coast and pretty proud of our track record, and we want 3 years running, by the way. But if again you look at grassroots sport, recently I was very proud to announce federal funding for the Maroochydore Swans. Now, some would wonder, is he talking about the Swans rugby or the Swans football soccer? Well, both, actually, because the federal government has extended grants to improve the change rooms and facilities so that the women who are playing rugby and footy can actually have the dignity of their own change rooms. It is so important that we support women in sport. And lastly, I want to pay tribute to the Coolum Women's Shed. That's right, not the Coolum Men's Shed, who are going great guns, by the way, but the Coolum Women's Shed is now underway. They had their opening day just last weekend and hundreds of women walking through the door. This is yet again an example of how the local community are coming together with local leadership. And that's where social inclusion, friendships, that's what's holding our civil society together, and a full credit to them. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.